The ongoing legal feud between NASCAR and two of its teams, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, has reached another critical juncture as NASCAR responded strongly to the team's latest legal maneuvers. This dispute, rooted in accusations of monopolistic practices within NASCAR's charter system, escalated when the teams refiled motions, seeking a preliminary injunction just before the Thanksgiving holiday. But now NASCAR has responded and has accused 2311 Racing and FRM for cheating. On the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, 2311 Racing, co-owned by NBA legend Michael Jordan and driver Denny Hamlin, and FRM filed renewed motions alleging NASCAR's charter system unfairly limits competition and creates monopolistic advantages for chartered teams. The timing of this filing prompted sharp criticism from NASCAR's legal representatives, who labeled the move as a tactical delay. Chris Yates, an attorney representing NASCAR, accused the teams and their lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler, of attempting to exploit the holiday schedule to hinder NASCAR's ability to respond effectively. In its official response, NASCAR sought to extend the timeline for filing its defense, citing the deliberate timing of the plaintiff's motions. Judge Frank D. Whitney, presiding over the case, granted a modest extension to NASCAR's deadline, moving it from December 6 to December 9th. The teams have until December 12 to file their reply. Oral arguments will be scheduled after these submissions are complete. Yates, representing NASCAR, minced no words in criticizing the timing of the motions, stating, "Plaintiffs' motion to expedite should be denied. Plaintiffs tactically delayed filing their new motion for a preliminary injunction for over a week, intentionally dropping it on NASCAR and the court on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday after first posting about it on social media many hours before filing." NASCAR's response underscores the heightened tensions between the organization and the teams involved. This latest chapter follows the denial of the team's initial motion for a preliminary injunction in November and the subsequent filing of an appeal. Adding complexity to the case, NASCAR recently removed a controversial clause from the open team agreement that previously prohibited teams from pursuing antitrust litigation, a move aimed at addressing some criticisms of its practices. The legal battle stems from the structure of NASCAR's charter system, introduced in 2016, which guarantees chartered teams a spot in every race while relegating open teams to qualifying for entry. Both 2311 Racing and FRM argue that this system stifles competition and creates an uneven playing field by granting chartered teams financial and operational advantages. For example, chartered teams receive a larger share of race earnings and are assured entry into all events, creating stability for sponsorship deals and long-term planning. The stakes for the plaintiffs are high. Both 2311 Racing and FRM have been negotiating agreements to purchase additional charters from the now-defunct Stewart-Haas Racing, SHR. However, these deals hinge on securing the charters under dispute, with the motion for a preliminary injunction playing a pivotal role in determining the outcome. The absence of these charters could significantly impact the team's sponsorship agreements and driver contracts, including the future of Tyler Reddick at 2311 Racing. Without guaranteed charters, Reddick could potentially exercise clauses allowing him to exit his contract. The broader implications of this legal battle extend beyond the courtroom. NASCAR's charter system has been a cornerstone of its financial and competitive structure, and any ruling against it could force significant changes to the sport's governance. For teams like 2311 Racing and FRM, success in this legal battle could mean more equitable terms for open teams and a potential overhaul of how charters are allocated and managed. Conversely, a ruling in favor of NASCAR would reinforce the organization's authority and the status quo. The lawsuit between 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, and NASCAR carries significant implications for the team's operations, particularly since they will compete as open teams instead of chartered ones in the 2025 NASCAR season. Running as open teams presents several challenges that could impact their financial stability, competitive performance, and long-term growth. Unlike chartered teams, open teams must qualify for each race based on their performance during qualifying sessions. This introduces a layer of unpredictability that could prevent them from participating in every race, making it harder to secure consistent exposure for sponsors. The NASCAR charter system provides guaranteed revenue streams to chartered teams, including a larger share of race earnings and financial bonuses. By competing as open teams, 2311 Racing and FRM will forfeit these benefits, potentially straining their budgets and limiting resources for car development and staffing. Sponsors typically prioritize chartered teams due to their guaranteed race entries, which offer predictable value and exposure. Running as open teams could make it more challenging for 2311 Racing and FRM to secure high-value sponsorship deals, weakening their financial foundation. The lack of guaranteed race entries could affect driver retention and recruitment. For example, Tyler Reddick's contract with 2311 Racing reportedly includes clauses tied to chartered status, and the uncertainty surrounding their open team status may lead to similar concerns with current and future drivers. Without the guaranteed stability of a charter, open teams often operate with fewer resources and struggle to compete with well-funded chartered teams. This could make it harder for 2311 Racing and FRM to achieve consistent on-track success, diminishing their ability to build momentum and attract top talent. If 2311 Racing and FRM succeed in their legal battle, the lawsuit could reshape the NASCAR charter system by addressing perceived inequities. This might grant open teams more favorable conditions, such as improved revenue-sharing structures or alternative pathways to securing charters. However, the legal proceedings are likely to be lengthy, leaving the teams to navigate at least one season as open competitors. Conversely, if NASCAR prevails, the current system will remain intact, potentially forcing 2311 Racing and FRM to either adapt to open team operations or explore alternative strategies, such as acquiring charters through other means. In either scenario, the lawsuit's outcome will have long-term ramifications for both teams and the broader NASCAR ecosystem. For 2311 Racing and FRM, running as open teams underscores the high stakes of their legal battle against NASCAR. While they face significant operational challenges in the short term, the lawsuit represents an opportunity to address systemic issues that could redefine NASCAR's competitive landscape. How they navigate these challenges and leverage the lawsuit's outcome will be critical in shaping their future in the sport. If 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, FRM, win their lawsuit against NASCAR, it could usher in significant changes to the sport's structure, particularly regarding the controversial charter system. This system, currently viewed as monopolistic by the plaintiffs, grants guaranteed race entries and financial benefits to chartered teams while leaving open teams at a disadvantage. A victory for the teams would challenge NASCAR to reconsider its policies, leading to a potential overhaul of how the sport operates. One of the most immediate impacts would likely be a restructuring or even the dismantling of the charter system. Without charters serving as gatekeepers to guaranteed race participation, NASCAR might be forced to adopt a more open model. This would lower barriers to entry for smaller teams and new owners, fostering a more competitive and inclusive environment. Teams would no longer need to purchase expensive charters to ensure their place on the grid, potentially increasing the number of participants and bringing back larger race fields. A ruling in favor of 2311 Racing and FRM could also result in a more equitable distribution of NASCAR's financial resources. Currently, chartered teams receive guaranteed revenue shares and other financial incentives that open teams do not. If the charter system is restructured, NASCAR might need to shift toward a performance-based payout system where financial rewards are tied more closely to on-track success rather than ownership of a charter. This could help level the playing field for smaller teams, enabling them to compete more effectively with established organizations. Sponsorship dynamics would also see a shift. Open teams are often viewed as less stable by potential sponsors due to their lack of guaranteed race entries, which can limit their ability to secure lucrative deals. Without the charter system, this perception could change, allowing all teams to compete on equal footing for sponsorship dollars. This could provide a boost to teams like FRM, who have traditionally operated with fewer resources than larger, chartered teams. The impact of such a legal victory would extend beyond financial considerations. NASCAR would likely need to address its antitrust compliance by introducing measures to increase transparency and fairness. This could include independent oversight of revenue-sharing agreements and clearer guidelines for team participation. Such steps would help rebuild trust among teams and owners while ensuring that NASCAR operates within the bounds of competitive fairness. The ripple effects of these changes would influence team ownership and driver markets as well. New owners might be more willing to invest in NASCAR if the barriers associated with charters are removed, potentially leading to a more diverse ownership base. For drivers, the lack of guaranteed charters might create more flexibility in contracts, as teams would no longer need to rely on chartered status to attract top talent. This could open doors for younger drivers and create a more dynamic driver market. While these changes might bring opportunities for smaller teams and new participants, they could also pose challenges for established teams that have relied on the advantages of the current system. Dominant organizations may need to adapt quickly to maintain their competitive edge in a landscape where guarantees are replaced by performance-based rewards. However, this shift could also reinvigorate the sport, offering fans more competitive racing and unpredictable outcomes. In the long term, a victory for 2311 Racing and FRM could reshape NASCAR into a more inclusive and competitive sport. While the transition might create growing pains for both NASCAR and its teams, it could ultimately lead to a healthier and more sustainable future for the organization, its participants, and its fans. Do you think FRM and 2311 Racing can win this lawsuit? Post your thoughts in the comments section below.